Sorry, I had a conflict resolution, had to take away all the new toys.
All right, well, welcome everyone. I've started the recording. If we will get started if Dr. McFadden joins and I don't see him, Faye or one of the faculty members, if you see him, please interrupt me and let me know. But welcome to all of you who are here to learn about some of our programs that we offer. The intention, the purpose of this program is to share some of the programs that we have, our master's, our EDS degree, our EDD degree, but really this is all about you and your career and how we can help you become school leaders and how we can help you expand the impact that you have on the kinds of leadership skills that you bring to the school, to your classrooms, to your school districts, and that's where we, the direction that we want to take this today. You know, it's an interesting time, of course, in the midst of a pandemic, that we have unusual challenges. We would say perhaps once in a lifetime kinds of challenges. But as I think about my career and the kinds of leaders that I've worked for and the kinds of leadership situations that I've been in, I mean, I can go back and think about as a beginning principal in the Wilmington School District in Illinois, the night I was hired, the superintendent told me he was going to take me into the closed session board meeting with the other principals. And this was in 1991. And the information that he shared with the Board of Education in closed session was that we had one or more students who were HIV positive, who essentially had AIDS. And of course, in 1991, that was a time that we didn't have the information now. We didn't know as much about HIV as we do now. It wasn't so much a manageable health condition as it is now. And for largely, it was a death sentence. And we had board members who were, I mean, they were panicking because, of course, we couldn't share the identities of the students. So every teacher wanted to know, does one of my students have HIV in my classroom? And of course, they couldn't know that. Parents wanted to know, does the kid sitting next to my kid in school have HIV? And could that impact the health of my child? That superintendent displayed such leadership in that kind of a health crisis that I thought I'd never see anything like it again. But here we are, decades later, we're dealing with a pandemic, and it's taking unusual leadership to guide schools and students and families and staffs through this. So leadership is just as important now as it ever has been. And most of the time, the leadership probably happens in quiet, smaller ways, but it certainly is one of those that it's a situation right now that requires enormous leadership. And I think it's especially appropriate that we have the president of the university to join us today to add his welcome, because it was partly this pandemic that was part of his job interview. In fact, he was appointed interim president in December. He assumed his position January 6th, and then had to basically shut down the university. Later in August, this past August, the Board of Regents decided that he had the toughest job interview imaginable, and they closed the search. They appointed Dr. McFadden as the president, and we are very fortunate to have him with us. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen right now so that we can see him on the full screen. Dr. McFadden, welcome. We're very pleased that you're joining us. You're a graduate of our program, so it's a real pleasure to have you with us, and we'll let you give a few words of welcome.
Well, thank you, Raymond. I appreciate it very much. Good to be with this group. A lot of familiar faces on here. It is good to see many of you. You are correct. It has been one of the most intense job interviews I could imagine. I'll liken to something else you said. It takes, did you say, you didn't say exceptional leadership. you said interesting leadership, I think. Yeah, this has presented some interesting challenges from a leadership perspective. I am blessed to be here and to be a part of this institution. I am very proud to be a graduate of the College of Education and the Educational Leadership Program at Eastern Kentucky University. I've built some very deep and meaningful relationships with some very important people in my life along that journey. As we think about leadership, kind of from a perspective of 30,000 feet, it's as much of what you're doing as it is about where you're going. And as we think about where we're going as an institution, I think that this pandemic that in all this chaos and all this distraction, there is opportunity. There's opportunity for innovation. There's opportunity for creativity. There's a chance for us to hit pause for a minute and reevaluate the things that we do and ask the question, why do we do them? And do we do them to the degree that we're happy with the outcome of what it is? And so I think that self-reflection and that self-evaluation is critically important. As each of us think about those who are mentors in our lives and those who we turn to for guidance and support, and I'll count many on this call as those who I would reach out to for their guidance and support. In this environment, there is no playbook for what success is. Fortune favors the prepared, I'll say that. And sadly, the one quotable thing that I get quoted on all the time during this pandemic from members of my cabinet is not something that is particularly, it's not particularly poetic, but I think it's very true. And that I believe that on the other side of this pandemic, there will be leaders and there will be losers. And if we don't lead in this moment, if we don't reinvent ourselves, if we don't think about deep, not just deep learning, but deep reflection on where we are and where we want to go, then I think we're going to miss a huge opportunity. This is a big reset button for our economy, for our communities, for all of the things that drive our nation. And specifically, I want to talk about education for a minute. I do believe there is going to be a restoration movement in education. There has to be, because it is foundationally a pillar of our communities. As we all think about what has got us to the point in our lives that we're at right now, education has played such a monumental role in that. And so as we think about what has happened over the better part of the last 20 or 30 or 40 years, not just here in Kentucky, but really nationally, we've seen a devaluing of education. We've seen a depreciation of the value of educators. We have seen those who are professionals out there who look at young men and young women who are aspiring to figure out what they're going to do with their lives. If they have an aptitude for science, if they have an aptitude for reading and writing, we don't look to them and say, hey, you should consider education as a profession. And I think that's on us. We've got to say that education is a good and noble, and it should be a rewarding, not only personally and professionally, but financially, profession. The work that each of you do, and as you train leaders in our K-12 schools, and you train teachers who go out and play the role of not only educator, but parent, but therapist, but you name it. And I know that our faculty are doing the same thing with our students today. There is an opportunity here. And as I think about our institution, founded as a teacher's college, founded in education, it is my desire that, just as the name of this department indicates, that EKU leads in education. And so we've got Dr. Powers and I've had several conversations about how we start to differentiate ourselves, how we start to bring quality and rigor to the marketplace, not from our programs. We do a great job, but candidly, those out there who employ those who are supposed to be leaders, I don't think they hold a litmus test up to where these individuals are being trained, what they're being taught, and are they capable of dispensing the duties and leading in the 21st century. And that includes a high degree of competency in subject matter. It requires leadership that is bold, in social justice and diversity and equity and inclusion, Dr. West. It requires us to come together and think about how do we make education better. And sometimes what we realize is let's get back to basics. Let's get back to those things that make us great. And as I see Mr. Naylor on here is joining us, our laboratory school is an asset on this campus. It has been with us since 1906. We must leverage it as an asset for this college, for this department, but really for the whole university. When we think about in-service opportunities, when we think about co-op opportunities, when we think about bringing students in and showing them that education is a good and fruitful work and that they should be able to consider doing that and that you can lead in education. I think those are all important things. I think that we've got to be flexible enough to say, legacies and traditions are important, but don't let us sacrifice the future for holding on to the past. And so I think that those are all good guiding principles for us to think about. There's some amazing people who are a part of this program. I have personally, again, benefited from many on here and some rich and engaging conversations that we've had. And so just flattered to sit in the seat that I'm in, try to use this office to equip and resource and empower our faculty and our staff and those who go out to serve our students. And I view that as the best of what I can do every day. As a 2-time degree holder from this institution, I also hope that those degrees hanging on the walls for those alums are valued even more tomorrow than they are today, not just by them, but by those who they work for, those who they connect with, and those that they lead.
Thank you very much, Dr. McFadden. I appreciate your spending some time with us. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Any questions? I'm game for.
Any questions for the president?
You're gonna kick me out, I see.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off. Just being respectful of your time.
No. My time is yours. I work for you.
Who's got questions for the president? You want to just unmute yourself?
It's the chilling effect of the presidency. I don't know what it is.
You just covered it all.
Dr. Power.
McFadden,
Yes.
it would be interesting to just hear a little bit of your perspective of the program, because those that are listening, some of them haven't quite made up their mind if this is what they want to do. So, the unknown is always a little difficult to go into. So, would you just talk a little bit about your own experience, especially when you get to the dissertation stage? I think that's what people fear.
I saw Charlie Houseman on here earlier, so I may have to rely on him to make sure that I tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So, Dr. West, this is a journey for you. For those who are considering this as students, don't be confused for a minute that these faculty are going to be a shepherd, are going to be a support. They're going to be there in the highest moments and the lowest moments. And they're going to try to help you through it because they've all done it. And everybody's journey is different, but in some ways that they're all the same. And the reality is that the statistics say a lot of people start this journey and not all of them finish it. And there's a multitude of reasons as to why that is the case. And those may be personal and they may be professional. They could be any number of things, but this is an investment in you. This is an investment in you transforming yourself into a better version of you. And so this is an exploration. And as you start this journey, you need to be intentional about what you want to get out of this experience. Those credentials, I'll be straight with you. If you work in higher education, you got to have that membership card to get in. But if you don't grow and transform yourself and become the expert in that thing that you're studying, then you've missed an immense opportunity. You got to take pride in the work that you're doing, because the reality is, as I look at my readership on the library's resource for my dissertation, I'm shocked at how many people want to read my dissertation once you are put up to be the president of the institution. So make sure you do it well and that you commit yourself to saying this is going to be archived forever, and it's going to be a part of me. And so the coursework is great, but make sure the coursework is building into where you want to go. Know where the destination is. And you may not have a firm feeling about that, but I would encourage you, explore it. What are you passionate about? What do you want to know more about? What do you want to be known as the expert in? Because it's going to help you along that way. Once the coursework is done, that's the easy part, because it really, you've learned. It's much like a baby bird. Even though you've got undergraduate degrees and graduate degrees, this terminal degree is really a test of willpower and commitment and discipline. And that journey is the one that in large part you take somewhat on your own. There's going to be people who plug in at certain places, but you got to take all of the methodology, you've got to take all of the lit review, you've got to take all of that knowledge and try to distill it down into something that advances the canon in a way that makes all of us better for having known it. And so I think it has to be impactful in that way. And from prospectus to dissertation, that's it can be a bit of a tough transition for some. I've seen people sprint through the finish. It works, but it's probably not going to be enjoyable for you. And frankly, it's going to put a lot of taxation on your committee, because things need to come in kind of a steady, planned way. And I think you'll get more out of it, and your committee will be able to engage with you more thoughtfully in that way. We're always kind of racing on a clock around here about when do you got to get this in order to graduate at this time or that time. Take a deep breath. You've got to enjoy the journey and understand that if you don't get something out of it, then why put that much work into it? And that's just me being as honest with you as I can be. I think it is worth the work. I think it will be edifying to you. And I think that it will make us better as an institution, and hopefully make the practice of education better for whatever it is that you're working on. But I think that is something I would focus on. Dr. West, I'll shift gears a little bit about the program as it is. You can take this degree and make it into anything you want it to be. Whether it's leading in a K-12 environment, or leading in higher education, or leading in industry, the principles and practices you're going to learn here are going to equip you to be successful in that way. If you put yourself into that work, you're going to learn deeper and be a better practitioner of moral and ethical leadership. You're going to be more reflective, and you're going to be more engaging and more inclusive in how you bring teams together and collaborate. Your critical thinking in and around things that really change organizations and shape organizations is going to be deeper and richer. And so, as with anything in life, you get out what you put in. And so I think that's the telling thing that really has got to be the part that says, are you willing to commit the time and the heart to make this work?
Thank you. Any other questions for the president?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I remember one of the first things they said in my own program, they told us rigor is up to the students. If you get in a class and you just don't feel like it's challenging enough, that is the student's responsibility. Do more research, add to it. You're always building toward that dissertation, and you're getting better and better at it. And, we don't leave you by yourself. We'll walk with you. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Thanks. Any other questions for the president? All right, thank you, Dr. McFadden. We appreciate your joining us today, and we're proud to call you an alumni of our program. So.
All right, thank you all very much.
Thank you, President McFadden.
Thank you.
Now, for those of you who are coming in, I'm brand new to the university, brand new to Kentucky, and when I came for my interview, part of the process was meeting with the dean. And so much of leadership is all about the relationships that you build, and in those small, quiet ways. And we had a lovely conversation. And then as I got up to leave, she handed me her business card, and she said, here, I'm going to put my cell phone number down here. And if you have any questions, call me. Well, I never had to call, but the gesture of being that connected and extending herself that personally meant so much. I knew this is the place I wanted to be. Dean Sherry Powers is with us. She's the Dean of the College of Education, and it's her turn now to welcome you all to this.
Hey, well, greetings, everyone, and we are certainly thrilled to be with you today, and thank Ray for his leadership and for just the way that he is working with our students, and we are thrilled to have him at EKU. You know, I was thinking this afternoon when I was kind of reflecting on some things I wanted to share with you, and a thought occurred to me that, and I don't know why, but I never really thought about this before, but my years in P-12 education, I got to thinking that almost every academic administrator in P-12 education, I taught in Kentucky before going back and to get my doctorate and going into higher ed. My KTEP teacher, my resource teacher, some of the teachers that meant the most to me and mentored me in formal and informal ways were all products of Eastern Kentucky University educator preparation programs. The majority of them graduated at the undergraduate and the graduate level from EKU. And I never really thought about that looking back across my experience in P-12 education. I think that's really important because, for one thing, I taught all over the state of Kentucky. Because of my husband's position, we moved every once in a while. And so what I realize is EKU has incredible respect across this state. It has, it's a brand that, that is respected in P-12 circles and even beyond. I'm amazed as dean, just all the people that, that I meet from out of state or, you know, even from organizations that have nothing to do with education that are EKU graduates. So there's a lot to be proud of in terms of being associated with EKU as a employee, a faculty member, or a student or alumni. I just want to say for many of you that are teaching, you are what we have always known, that educators, classroom teachers are heroes and that you are essential workers. And boy, have you stepped up to the plate, and you prove that every single day. I have a little granddaughter that's in first grade, and I am just amazed at all the ways that her teacher is connecting with her in the classroom as well as virtually to ensure that Audrey is learning and having an opportunity and access to materials and information. And I think what this teacher she has that's doing is no exception. I think that's what many teachers are doing. So I thank you for the many ways that you are serving the Commonwealth, but especially our P-12 learners. Thank you for that. One of the things that I think is a tremendous strength to our educational leadership programs and to the doctoral program is that our faculty are very concerned. First of all, they're very student-centered. And I think at the core of many of the things they do, whether it's putting together classes, whether it's advising students, revising curriculum and programs, or meeting one-on-one just to talk with you and learn more about you, you are always at the core of what they are thinking about. And I see that from where I sit. And I think that really provides an opportunity for our students in our graduate programs, our EDD program, to have a very meaningful experience. One of the things that I will say that I personally loved about my doctoral program was the fact that I had the opportunity to really learn about many things, but then to focus in on the area in which I was most passionate and really wanted to delve deeply into research and the literature. And, you know, as I look back, probably the most important thing happened is that I changed as a result of that experience. I changed professionally. I changed as a parent. I changed as a spouse and a friend and a community member. But I also changed as an educator. And I think probably the impact, it's one of those things that I'm not even sure you ever even in this life have the chance, you're always kind of hindsight. But those were really important changes because one of the things that I think that to me that's so exciting about being an educator and pursuing education, whether it's in a formal sense or just continuing that in my own professional development and research, is that part of that experience is about my growth and my understanding of the world around me and how I can be a catalyst. For me, particularly in P-12 school settings in the area of equity and inclusion and literacy instruction to ensure that all students have access to the information, the teaching, the instruction, all of those things that they need. And I think that probably most doctoral students, when they have time to kind of catch their breath and reflect a bit, can probably point to ways that they change. Now, sometimes some of those experiences were very challenging. It didn't mean that it was just an easy experience, but some of those challenges, I think, really prepared me to better understand the world around me and the people around me and agencies and organizations and educational systems and structures around me. The other thing that I do want to take a minute to return to is to brag on some of our faculty. You have faculty that you have the opportunity to learn from at this university that can really help guide you. They can also push you in ways that sometimes are uncomfortable, but that will really help you to grow professionally. The other thing is I think that a lot of the faculty in our Ed Leadership program are very committed to P-12 education. And you will see that reflected in a lot of the ways that they work with school leaders, but also just their passion in terms of their own research and the ways that they are very active in P-12 schools or working with educators in different ways. I think in conclusion, I just want to say that in the College of Education, we have an outstanding team of academic administrators, as well as our faculty and staff. We are very much a team. We work together. We don't always get everything right, and we're not always perfect. So we really value student feedback because we are able to take that then and to shape our practice, our processes, our curriculum to better meet the needs of our students. And one of the things that we're doing right now, some of you may have had a chance to talk with Dr. Todd McCardle, and he is the coordinator of the EDD Ed Leadership Program. He has been diligently working with the faculty, meeting with me and with Dr. Dieters to just really enhance a lot of the curriculum, the processes, the opportunities for our EDD students. So I think there are a lot of exciting opportunities for you. I look forward to just getting to know you, and I just invite you to when and if you're on campus sometime, come by 4th floor, stop in. I always enjoy meeting students and just getting to know you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Powers. Appreciate your welcome as well. Dr. Powers is a right-hand person, is the Associate Dean, Dr. Faye Dieters. Dr. Dieters is doing double duty this year. She's also the interim department chair for our department. So I don't know when she ever spends time with the other departments in the college, because it seems like she's ours, so we don't have to share. Dr. Dieters, I'll let you to say a few words.
Thank you, Ray. I'll keep my remarks rather brief because I know that you came to learn about the programs, and you have some wonderful people who've gone through different programs that are here to talk to you and share their experiences. And I'm sure that you would definitely want to hear from them. But I will just say just a few things in addition to what both President McFadden and Dean Powers have expressed regarding the programs in the department. We're focusing on school and district administration today. We do have mental health and school counseling programs as well, if anybody's interested in those areas. But our programs are so strong because our faculty have such a wealth of experience at all levels in the school systems, from principal to superintendent. You're going to be really impressed when you learn more about what they've done and how they've been engaged. And I will tell you too, Dr. Powers mentioned their research and their passion for that. They're also extremely engaged in service, both nationally and internationally, even in some cases, and they can tell you more about that. But they're really impressive and they're very passionate. They definitely recognize how important school and district administrators are in P-12 schools in the terms of the academic achievement of our students in P-12. And we also recognize, as Dr. Powers kind of alluded to in her remarks earlier, that most of the school leaders and district leaders in our region were prepared in our programs here at Eastern. And that's a great thing. And we'd like to see that trend continue. And we definitely do request your feedback if you decide to come into our programs at any point. You know, my door is always open. I am happy to listen to students, engage and talk with them about their experiences. And the faculty are very, very receptive to hearing about how they can improve the programs and how they can get better as faculty and in supporting students. So that's another wonderful thing about them. I will say that preparing strong leaders to serve the districts in our service region is really a priority in our department and our programs. And so we want to do it well, and we want to make sure that the impact that we have on our schools and our districts is positive and it's long lasting, because we do not recognize the importance of that. I'm going to let them tell you more about the programs now.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Dieters. I'm going to go back to sharing my screens to the presentation. All right, so let's, I want to jump right into really the meat of the program of our master's and EDS programs, as well as we'll talk about the EDD. We're a fully accredited program. The master's and the EDS program is asynchronous online with no campus visits. Depending on the course, there may be some additional optional Zoom courses to bring guest speakers in and to do other discussions. But this is a program that, as busy as teachers are and principals are, it just doesn't get any easier because it fits into your program. You're in class when you have time to be in your class, and you can work that throughout the week into your schedule. It's an EPSB approved programs of study. They're generally accelerated 8-week courses. We have graduate degree options, the 3 that I mentioned. We also have certification only and also rank change. And it's also very affordable. Throughout this year, due to the pandemic and all that, we've got a discounted tuition rate of $395 per hour instead of the normal $510, and the application is free through the summer. We have 3 degree programs: the Master of Arts in Education for school principal, the EDS, Educational Specialist, and the Doctor of Education, the EDD degree. For the Master's in School Principal, with the School Principal Certification, it is a 30-hour program. It's 10 courses, requires 3 years of teaching experience. We need 2 letters of recommendation from supervisors, and then we need 1 letter from the district committing their support for your clinical experience. We also require a written statement from you indicating your ability to improve student learning and instruction, and there's an interview. For the specialist degree, very similar, 30-hour program, 10 courses again, 3 years of teaching experience. If you're getting the superintendent certificate, you also need 2 years of administrative experience. Same, 2 letters of recommendation from supervisors, 1 letter from the district committing the support for your clinical experiences, written statement indicating the ability to improve student learning, and the interview. And for the Doctor of Education degree, I'll ask Dr. West, who teaches in that program primarily,
Yes.
to address that.
So a little while ago, you heard about the two concentrations. So we have the Ed Leadership and Policy Studies doctoral program and the Counselor Education and Supervision program, both housed in our department. I'm meaning the Counselor Ed and the Ed Leadership department. You can apply December through March 1st. Is that correct, Dr. Locke?
That's correct.
Yeah, it's a 60-hour program. A lot of times you all start as a group, and we encourage you, if you can, just kind of stay with the cohort. You don't have to, but you become kind of a family and support for each other. So that's I think a good thing. The dissertation process is you will at one point select, depending on the methodology and preference, you can choose the person who will chair your dissertation, and you can choose you do choose your committee, and your chair walks beside you and is there to answer questions or help you with anything as you go through it. And then there's contact for Dr. McCardle again. So if you have any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. West. Now for the educational leadership certifications, you can get school principal level 1 and 2, director of people personnel services, supervisor of instruction, and superintendent. They all require the master's degree, 3 years of teaching experience, school principal level 1 certification, and the superintendent certificate requires 2 years of administrative experience. Why EKU? Why come here? I already mentioned that very affordable and also high quality and convenient. But EKU's Catalyst Award for Teaching and Learning from Blackboard Incorporated. We've been named among the best by US News and World Report. EKU Online is named in the top 30 among the best online colleges and universities. And it's one of the most affordable online colleges of 2020. But one of the main reasons that the program has such high quality, it's the people that deliver the instruction to you and the people that develop that relationship with you and guide you through this program. And we're going to have a chance to hear just a little bit about each of the faculty members in the program, their backgrounds, experiences, and the research interests. And we'll start with Dr. Burns. And I'll stop sharing so we can see them.
Okay, so you probably could have kept your screen sharing up, because it's just, I apologize, it's a picture of me, but my computer network is not such that when I try to share my video, I get unstable and then I get kicked off. So I'm sorry, you just get a picture of me. But anyway, that's probably a better picture than a live shot would be anyway. So I'm currently an associate professor in the Department of Ed Leadership at Eastern. And like Dr. McFadden, he said he was a 2-degree holder from Eastern. I have 3 degrees from Eastern Kentucky University, all from the College of Education. And, you know, when you think about just a person coming for their bachelor's degree to Eastern Kentucky University as an 18-year-old, and then you think that, you know, you can go as far as you can go, because all I really wanted to be was a teacher, you know, a classroom teacher. I begged my father, please, I want to be a teacher. I know that's what I want to be. And my dad was a high school principal, and he was like, he really did not want any of his children, I was the youngest of 6, to be a teacher. And he said, I won't pay your education. If you go into teaching, I will not pay your tuition. So it took me a couple of years of undecided degrees. I declared marketing and economics and a couple of other things. And finally, I just sat down with him. I said, Dad, I really, really just want to be a teacher. And so finally he gave in. I think it was because I wore him down. So I graduated with my bachelor's degree, was very happy in the classroom being a teacher, and I have experience at every grade level from kindergarten through 6th grade. So I have lots of experience at lots of different levels. And then I came back to Eastern. I worked on my principal certification. And then I came back again and I worked on my supervisor of instruction certification. And there's something about education that keeps drawing you back and drawing you back. And I also came back for my superintendent, my gifted and talented certification, and then finally my doctoral degree. And I want to tell you that every single one of those, either certifications or degrees or both, have opened many, many doors for me personally, because I went from being just a teacher, which is what I wanted to be and always wanted to be, and I still consider myself as a teacher, to I was a principal. I was also a district assessment coordinator, central office supervisor. I worked as the leadership consultant in the largest co-op in the state, and served 68 different districts in Eastern Kentucky. And then finally, I retired as the director for education recovery at the State Department. So I know and am fully invested and interested in turnaround schools. As a matter of fact, that's what my dissertation was about, the success of turnaround schools, and Dr. Hausman was the chair of my committee. So, turnaround and school culture and gender equity in administrative positions, those are all things that I'm very, very passionate about and very, very interested in. And I still continue to do culture assessments in districts across the eastern part of the state when they invite me in. And I love the work that I do. And I'm happy to be part of the team in the Education Leadership Department.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Burns. We'll go next to Dr. Hausman, who Dr. Burns and the president both mentioned. You're very famous, Dr. Hausman.
I started out in education as a middle school science teacher. I've also been an assistant principal at middle school and high school levels. I was director of research and accountability in Salt Lake City, and finally ended up as the associate superintendent of Salt Lake City School District. I've taught at 4 universities. I taught at the University of Maine, the University of Utah, UK, and now EKU. I've been at EKU for 12 years. My research interest primarily is on school choice. I study magnet schools and charter schools and open enrollment. Secondarily, I look at the principal's role in school improvement, and I look at consequences of services for traditionally underserved students like English language learners in particular. Happy to be at Eastern.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hausman. Dr. Will Place, let's hear from you next.
Okay, thank you, Ray. Like everyone said, I'm very happy to be here at Eastern. This is my 4th year here. I've been at 5 different universities. I've been in K-12. I've been a teacher, the usual stuff, coach, assistant principal. I was a full-time union representative for a year, actually with the Department of Defense Dependent Schools. So I've done that, also been a principal. I actually went into the principalship in a 1-year sabbatical that was supposed to last 1 year, but they liked what I was doing and I was having fun. And so we made it 2-year, 2nd year with leave without pay, but I was the principal at a small high school just outside Dayton, Ohio, where after they asked for a 3rd year, the dean said, no, you got to make up your mind, either come back to university or stay at K-12. And I often think about that. I really love, as people have said, I love K-12 and committed to K-12 education. But I've also enjoyed the university, and I've been heavily involved nationally in the major associations, both UCEA as well as NCPA, which is now ICPEL, which is international. But when it was the National professors of educational administration. I was elected to be one of 9 members on their executive board and served on that for 3 years. And as I said, I've been active in UCA. I was on the board of their Barbara Jackson Scholars, which is a group that tries to increase diversity and representation of various groups at the university level. My research interests focus mainly on issues of social justice. I do both qualitative and quantitative studies. I've never done a mixed methods, but I have done both strictly quantitative, strictly qualitative, and I have a number of studies that looked at educator recruitment, selection, and the principalship and issues of that nature. So again, happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Place. Dr. West, you're next.
Yes. So I was not a teacher. I thought I was going to be a counselor. So I have an undergraduate degree from Anderson University in South Carolina. And I received a master's from Clemson University. And then some things changed. I did a practicum during that program, and I decided I wanted to teach. And so I ended up in ed leadership there at Clemson. I started there. That's where I met my mentor. He was from the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. So the following year, I followed him there and worked on my doctorate in ed leadership and cultural foundations. And so I came here 10 years. I've been here 10 years. This is my 11th year. And my research has been primarily on the principalship. During my dissertation, I traveled across the United States. I traveled 8,800 miles talking to principals about their work. And mostly I found out that they wear many hats. They're very stressed. It's a difficult job, and I admire all of you, and as well as the teachers. I've spent some time with teachers. I worked a little bit with Ann Burns one year when she was out in the schools, and she's very good at it, very good. And so I learned a lot about teachers, and I know that they're overworked as well. I am a qualitative researcher. So I have written a lot about principalship and related topics, and have publications in like the Journal of School Leadership and Education, Urban Society rather. And I have a Springer publication, a chapter in a Routledge chapter. And again, it's been mostly, I have done some research on also the superintendency, but it was related to the principalship as well. It's a longitudinal study. That's a study where you keep going back and watching something over time. So I'm getting ready to go my 3rd time and for that. I teach, again, I'm a qualitative researcher. So I teach qualitative and I teach advanced qualitative. I teach I've taught field studies and the dissertation practicum, and I teach diversity and cultural competence courses. So it's glad to have all of you here.
Thank you, Dr. West. The other faculty member who is not able to be here today is Dr. Bill Phillips, but he's a part of the doctoral program as well. As I mentioned, I'm brand new to Kentucky. I retired out of the Illinois public education just a year ago. I did all my graduate work, PhD, MBA, and the master's in reading at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And in fact, it's funny that I ended up in Kentucky because part of my dissertation topic was related to school-based management. And of course, back then, the Kentucky reform had just gone into place. And so that played very large in some of my research. And it's kind of funny that here I am now in Kentucky and getting to know school-based management models even more from the Kentucky model. I'm also involved in or interested in school finance, leadership, and also storytelling as a leadership technique. I'd like to say I'm the oldest new young assistant professor on campus here. So that's who I am. I'm going to go back to sharing the screen now. And now we're going to hear some of the student voices. We have a range of students, a range of experiences of our students. Some who are being brand new into the program, others who have been in it for a while. And I've asked them to talk a little bit about their experiences, their impressions, how they're feeling about the program and that. And let's start with Jocelyn Cunningham.
Hi, my name is Jocelyn Cunningham. I am a school-based instructional specialist for Fayette County Public Schools. I'm currently in my first course of the EDS program. What I found to be very nice about this program, it's convenient and flexible. For someone who's available to teachers from about 6 a.m. till 10 p.m., I need some flexibility in my schedule to meet their needs and also complete my schoolwork. So this has been a pretty easy experience within the first 3 weeks of the program of balancing my work and my education. So this has been great for me. I'm excited about what new opportunities that this program has, and the sense that we are doing, we have opportunities to for mentorship and also doing some field experience to learn more about the different positions.
Great, thank you, Jacqueline. David Naylor, let's hear from you next.
Sorry about that. I had to get to the mute button. I'm David Naylor. I'm the elementary principal at Model Laboratory School. I'm also the Zone 5 director for the National Association of Elementary School Principals. Part of the reason I really enjoy this program at EKU, and I'm off Ms. Cunningham, is the flexibility. As you heard from my couple different titles, it is very busy. But another thing that I really do enjoy about it is that the topics are relevant. They're dealing with stuff that's going on today. And being on the board and also being a student, I get to see those hand in hand, especially when we're dealing with advocating with Congress and Senate on funds for different programs. It coincides exactly what we're doing. I think I forgot to mention what program I'm doing. My rank 1 and with the certification in superintendentcy. But the other thing that I really like about it is the opportunity to actually do a deep dive and thinking through these different barriers that we have in education. I think too often we gloss over them, and this program has really allowed me to think deeper. They give us the resources and the papers to do it, and the conversations that we have, I think it could be really great. I know just from being in Dr. Locke's class, some of the presenters he brought on was really insightful of dealing with some of the issues that we have now and how we can overcome those. So to me, that's what you want in a program. I won't say where I got my master's. I think it was a good program, but I didn't have to put a lot of thought into going through that program. So I really appreciate the professors here at EKU and really challenging us to think about how we're going to solve the problems that we face in K-12 education.
Thank you, David. And the next student we have is David Pettit, who was just there. Did we lose David? Well, let's see if he comes back. Lisa Watkins, we'll go to you next.
Hi, everybody. So I'm going to do sort of the touchy-feely side of this. I'm in my 4th semester, and I have just been overwhelmed by the amount of support I've gotten, not just from my own district, but from the EKU faculty. It was interesting as we've gone through this process over the last hour or so. I have seen a lot of faces I recognized, definitely seen a lot of names that I recognized, and have always felt very, very free to reach out and just ask questions or say, I don't understand this. I dipped my toe into this very cautiously by attending one of these meetings a couple of years ago and saying, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can do that. I'm towards the end of my teaching career as far as being in the classroom. This is my 21st or 2nd maybe year in the classroom. And I really wasn't sure that I was brave enough, if you will, to dip into the administration side. My district was very supportive. Dr. Shoemaker and Dr. Burns have been uber supportive as we've gone through this process. And this old dog has learned a lot of new tricks. It's been very empowering. It's been something that I only dreamed of. And now it's becoming a reality. And I think I've worked hard, but in large part, it's because of the support I've received and sort of the cheerleading on the sidelines of, you can do it, you can do it. And so I'm doing it. And this has been an absolutely phenomenal opportunity. It's been a dream. So I'm very grateful to everybody.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you.
If we see David come back on, we'll have one more, but in the meantime, let's go back to this, which is the application process. And we have Chase Barnes from the Graduate College, who's going to kind of walk us through some of these details and how you apply, actually.
Hello, thanks for having me. So really just wanted to point really a lot of FAQs that we receive in regards to the application process itself. So there's rolling applications for the MAED and EDS with start dates in the fall, spring, and summer. The ED applications are accepted through December through March 1st, as was previously touched. 2 courses are needed in order to qualify for financial aid. The 3.0 GPA waives your graduate school admission test. As we had mentioned before, there is free application and teacher discount that has been extended through summer 2021. So instead of the $510 per credit hour, it is discounted to $395. And something to keep in mind is when you're going through your application is to include those email or have those email addresses on file of the recipients for your letters of recommendation so that it speeds up your process a little quicker. And then once an application is complete and all submitting materials are submitted, then we expect answers within 2 weeks, depending on the amount of time that it takes for the department and committee reviews. Below is the URL for the application to apply. Any of your questions can be directly relied to Dr. Raylock.
Okay, thank you, Chase. I'll open it up now. I think there are just a handful of prospects here of interested potential students here. So if you just want to unmute your mic and just ask any questions, we have faculty here and we have people from eCampus, John Hepner and Barb Shoemaker to help with those questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
And you may have touched on this because I had to leave at the beginning because I had a staff meeting. I was wanting to know about the Rank 1 programs.
So the Rank 1 program is the 30 hours that you would get along with the master's degree, or I suppose conceivably to the EDS degree, depending on where you're at. But that comes hand in hand. I think Dr. Burns has probably dropped off. Do any of the other faculty members want to fill in some of any other gaps that I don't have?
So the rank can also be obtained in an individual program as well, depending on where you are as if you don't want to do a degree program, as Dr. Locke pointed out earlier, the MAED or the EDS, you could do either of those, and depending on where you are in terms of your leadership trajectory, and accomplish your Rank 1. But you can also do a Rank 1 program that is not part of a degree program if you're really just interested in getting that Rank 1. There is a requirement by the state that a Rank 1 must either enhance your base certificate or add a new area of certification. And so that's where the Rank 1 program kind of gets a little more complicated. But because if you don't have a leadership certification already, part of what you would have to do in that 30 hours is add one, which is not difficult to do. But at any rate, if you already have a leadership certification, then it's much more open in terms of what you can focus on and that sort of thing. But yeah, if Dr. Burns, I don't think she's on here anymore, but if she definitely would have some more insight into that if you have specific questions about that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I kind of had a question about transfer credits. I actually have quite a few from another institution and just wanting to see what that process would look like.
Dr. Dieters, do you want to just handle that?
So we are limited in how much transfer credit we can take. It really depends on which program that you're interested in. I apologize, my phone just decided to ring. But so typically we can't take more than half of whatever is required in the program in terms of transfer credit. So depending on which one you're interested in, that might be up to 15 hours or the patient would be half of that.
Thank you, Dr. Dieters. Before I ask for any other questions, I see David Pettit has come back on. I'll give you your time, David.
I was experiencing technical difficulties. I apologize for that. I'm David Pettit. I'm the Director of Federal Programs and Operations for Campbellsville Independent Schools. I received my master's in educational administration from Eastern Kentucky probably about 12 years ago. Seems like it should be 4 or 5, but I actually think it's 12 years ago now. I was principal for 6 years. I am back again getting a certification in superintendency. This is my 3rd class. I'll just keep it brief, but to kind of piggyback up what some of my classmates have said. I have 3 kids. I'm a dad. Obviously I've got my career. I coach girls basketball too, so I've got a ton of things going on. So time was a huge factor for me in this decision. There's no way I could find a program that's been more, I guess, valuable of my time. The assignments are there. I do it when I'm available, and it was huge for me. Also, they mentioned on the PowerPoint, the price was as good as any price that I've found. And when you're a father of 3 and you've got kids getting ready for college themselves, every dollar counts. So beat the competition going away. The last thing I want to mention, and Dr. Lauk and I have talked about this quite a bit, and I know Mr. Naylor there from Model mentioned it, one of the most practical programs I've ever had in my life. The things that I talk about in class, the things that I work on are things that either I do in my job now or that I know I'll probably encounter when I hopefully become a superintendent of a school district. And I don't mind at all to take a class and to spend the money for a program that's going to benefit me, that I know it's going to pay off. And I've learned a ton. Just from like I said, from a dad and from a professional and from a realist standpoint, it's been worth the money. And I think that's just probably the most simple way that I could put my time is, with a master's degree and now in this certification degree.
Thank you so much, David. We'll go back to any other questions you got then.
Good evening. I'm talking to you from Rockcastle County High School today. I have taken a roundabout path to be here with you tonight. I did my undergraduate work at UK, but I did all of my graduate work, both my master's and my rank 1 in principalship there at EKU. And I served as a principal and as a director of district-wide services and an assistant superintendent. And then 5 years ago, I literally woke up one morning with a real urge to be back in the classroom and be back on my own children's schedule. And so I did the unthinkable for most of my professional friends. I took that huge pay cut and came back to the classroom, which is where I'm sitting today, getting ready to grade the rest of my online work for the tonight. I'm here tonight because I'm interested in the Supervisor of Instruction program. I served in that capacity as Director of District-Wide Services for Berea Independent Schools. So when you're a school district that small, I had 14 hats. So you do a lot of things. I did all the federal programs, et cetera. So my question is, and I apologize for coming the biographical route, but when you're interested in just the certificate program, what are the differences in terms of application, at the beginning of the program, entry, if you will, et cetera?
Thank you for the question, Debbie. You apply the same route. You indicate that you are certificate only with the Supervisor of Instruction certificate. And that is a program of 5 courses. And if you've had them, then they will count towards that already.
Okay. That was my next question, because I do believe that through the work that I did prior, I've not been able to see the list of courses yet. I couldn't find that in my limited research I've been able to do. But that was my next question: is were those courses, if I've taken them in that leadership program, do they move forward with me for this supervision certificate?
Yes, and if you want to contact me later, we can look at the courses you've had and see which ones would.
I will. And thank you so much. And then, of course, I also wanted to hear a little more about the doctorate. I started that at UK a long time ago and decided not to pursue it because my children were so little. So I think eventually I'd like to come back to that. So, but thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
How can I get some more information about exactly what courses and all the graduate degree programs EKU offers, and any type of financial assistance anyone is out here, maybe if there's any type of financial assistance available or any other information? Is everything is totally online?
Yes, for the masters and the EDS is entirely online. Dr. Place and Dr. West, Dr. Hausman, in the EDD program, it is sometimes a mix, correct?
That's correct. It's a hybrid.
But Melissa, the first part of your question of how you can get more information, same thing. Why don't you contact me? I'll post the contact information again, and we can talk further about the courses that you would need for the program that you're interested in. Financial aid is one of the other faculty members, or can you help me with that answer? I'm assuming it's just contacting the financial aid office at EKU.
Well, Dr. Locke, if I could interrupt here just a second. eCampus does have their own special financial aid advisor.
Oh.
So if you're interested, we can, if you'll email Dr. Locke or myself, I can send you his email address so you can contact him.
Thank you, Dr. Shoemaker. I did not know that. So Dr. Shoemaker is the assistant director of the eCampus program. And of course, all of our programs are run through eCampus. So Barbara Shoemaker, John Hepner, they are key people in our program as well. Any other questions?
So is your email address Raymond Locke at
raymond.lauk@eku.edu.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I'll put that screen back up so you can see that. Any other questions? I want to thank all of the faculty members who joined us today and all of the students who shared their perspective. Thank you all for being a part of this program. We appreciate your interest in developing your leadership skills and how the Ed Leadership Program at EKU can support you as you develop your careers and your leadership skills. And we look forward to receiving your application. If you have any questions at all, please contact me, and we're happy to help you in any way we can. So thank you all so much. Have a wonderful night.
Okay, thank you.
And stay well.
Thank you everyone for attending.